You're listening to Four Things to Know, a WCCO daily news podcast.
Today is Wednesday, August 5th. I'm Maria Lisignoli.
And I'm Johnny Kahner. Thanks for watching and listening to Four Things to Know today.
Our top story, some tense moments at a park in St. Paul that's a growing homeless encampment. Pig's Eye Park is southeast of downtown in St. Paul near the Mississippi River. The encampment just started being cleared today by St. Paul City Crews. Our Adam Duxter was out there, and he spoke with a man named Kenny who lives in the encampment and spoke with St. Paul resident Kyle Decker. Here's Adam's report from noon.
It started today right at 8 a.m., exactly when the city said they were going to come through. And right now behind us is a bit of a staging area. And this is where we've seen a lot of community helpers, not necessarily people that work with the city, but people who are just here on their own time or are working with harm reduction organizations. This is where they've been helping to pack people up and move them out. What I can tell you is that the city has authorized over $1 million from Ramsey County to increase and invest in shelter beds. What we're hearing from people today who are leaving or people who are helping people leave is that the plans for those people are largely to find other encampments across the city to come and stay at. As you mentioned, things have grown tense here at a couple of points throughout the day, especially at the start of the day when presumably city crews came through with skid steers to begin the day. They were actually pushed back and turned around by people who were here to essentially work with these folks in this encampment. Now, the city has said time and time again that these encampments are unsafe. Mayor Kahner has pointed to over 800 911 calls in the past year at these sites across the city for everything from assaults to weapons violations to drugs, and you can name the rest. But the people we talk to who live here and call this place home say all they want is the right to be able to stay here, and those who are helping them move today say this whole thing could have been planned a whole lot better in their opinion.
You know, I mean, there are ups and downs with everywhere you go, and any place you are, any group of people you're around. It's just life, you know. I mean, we're living, dealing with human problems, and they're coming in and being inhuman, trying to tell other humans what to do.
It's tense, it's chaotic, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of unknowing. No one knows where they can go, where there's space. It's just chaos. People forget that when someone's unhoused, they see them somehow as people not worthy of love. And I'm here to make sure that everyone knows that they're people worthy of love, and that all of us are one horrible medical accident away, one massive layoff from being here ourselves.
Today we've run into a number of elected officials, both state representatives as well as a St. Paul City Council member who are here, of course, to help this work go on.
Number two, the cooler weather today is good for firefighters in the Northland fighting fires in the Boundary Waters canoe area, but stronger winds are in the forecast for the next few days up there. The Bear Trap fire is 40% contained, the Thumb fire is 50% contained, and this morning Governor Tim Walz said that 65,000 acres have burned so far on the U.S. side of these wildfires.
We're in a better spot than I think I anticipated, and I think that many of us did because of that. And you'll hear Administrator Warnke talk a little bit. The weather did cooperate on that. Weather different than the overall climate picture. We're still in drought, and we are reminded, I think a very good point on this is that even with rain, our vegetation is at a point where it's starting to go dormant. I know it's hard to hear for all of us, but we're entering fall, and we're actually entering fire season by traditional standards would be right now. So this fight, the resources that went into it, the personnel and everything that's gone into this was early for that.
The governor said 875 firefighters have been involved in fighting these wildfires in the Northland. And Maria, not only is the environment obviously a big concern, but a lot of loss to local businesses. They're losing a bunch of revenue, which is a big bummer. So hopefully this gets figured out.
I know. And more entry points are reopening to the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. But I know the fires, even if they're out before the end of the summer, have deterred a lot of people from going up and you know, getting those outfitters and getting that business. And yeah, it's been a journey for the last month and a half. Hopefully it does clear up soon. Well, today, for number 3, hundreds of concession workers are walking off the job at Target Field. And Noah Kahan is going to be performing tonight in a sold-out show at Target Field. But ahead of that show, these concession employees are picketing. The nearly 500-person unit is represented by Unite Here Local 17. That's Minnesota's hospitality workers union. Workers are employed by Delaware North. And last week, the union filed an unfair labor practices charge, alleging that Delaware North failed to bargain in good faith with the union. They say the company subcontracted union work to reportedly misclassified workers from apparently sham charities like MN Fundraising Initiative in Blaine. Last week, the Minnesota Attorney General's office announced MNFI, which is the sham charity that staffed concessions for Delaware North at Target Field. It was shut down by them. This is after an investigation into employee misclassification and self-dealing. Delaware North workers at Target Field have been without a union contract since January 1st. Many employees make minimum wage and struggle to access health insurance through their employer. We have tried to reach out to Delaware North on the strike and the negotiations moving forward, but we haven't heard back yet. Union members do plan to strike until 8 p.m. tonight, and the Noah Kahan concert starts at 6:30. Doors open an hour before.
Now to your fourth thing to know today, the leading candidates for governor took part in a forum this morning ahead of next Tuesday's primary. The event today took place at Farm Fest near Redwood Falls. The first question the candidates were asked was, how do you plan to connect or unite the state so that there is not a narrative of urban versus rural? So we heard from Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar and then the three Republican candidates in this order: House Speaker Lisa Demuth, Mike Lindell, and then Kendall Walz.
This is one way we bring people together in Minnesota, and that's having civil debates about issues. That is things like what I have done every year since being in statewide office, visiting every single county, all 87, every single year. And I don't care if people are Republican or Democrats, they come and they tell me what's wrong, especially our farmers. And what our farmers are facing right now should bring people together.
I am proud to have led the House of Representatives as Speaker of the House here in Minnesota over the last year in the second time in history in a tie. That means there's 67 Democrats, 67 Republicans. Absolutely everything that we passed over the last 2 years had to be bipartisan. We have proven that we can do that here in Minnesota.
I can unite the state. My roots were in farming. That was my first job, or one of my first jobs for years, and I know the problems with farming. I was a crack addict in the middle of Minneapolis for years. I quit that by the grace of God, and then put millions of dollars into Minneapolis and St. Paul, into the inner city to help the homeless, the people in addiction.
When you change the state flag, when you have half the Democrat Party calling themselves the Democrat Socialists of America, those are value differences that do not sustain any organization or state. We have to have common values, common beliefs that we used to have as a state and as a country, and are under wraps.
Also happening this afternoon at Farm Fest, a U.S. Senate candidate forum that will include Democratic candidates like Representative Angie Craig and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. It will also include GOP candidates Michelle Tafoya and Royce White. And those are our four things to know today. Let's check in now on our next weather forecast.
Hey guys, next weather meteorologist Adam Del Rosso checking in on another beautiful day. We've had lots of sunshine, high pressure still in control. The lower humidity feeling nice as well, and that's going to set us up for a pretty comfy overnight with temperatures falling from near 80 this afternoon down into the low 60s for our low temperatures tonight. Tomorrow, some changes. It's going to be a little breezier and a little warmer, but temperatures still not too bad for early to mid-August standards. We're going to find our highs in the mid-80s under a mostly sunny sky.
And now, here's more to know.
The mother of a man charged in the shooting death of a 17-year-old boy in southern Minnesota is now facing criminal charges herself. That's because charges say she allegedly helped her son evade arrest. It happened back in May when Tyson Goodsell was shot and killed in North Mankato. 3 men were charged in Goodsell's death, the youngest of which was 18. Court records are charging the 18-year-old's mother with 2 counts of aiding an offender by obstructing a murder investigation and 2 counts of harboring or concealing an offender to help him avoid arrest. The complaint alleges the woman picked her son up, paid for a hotel for her son's co-defendants that night, and moved evidence for her son while he was in jail. When asked by investigators if she questioned why her son needed to be picked up the night of the shooting, she said she didn't ask. She said she, quote, knew something was going on and didn't want to know yet, according to the complaint.
A private prison in western Minnesota will soon house immigration detainees. The company that owns the Old Prairie Correctional Facility in Appleton just inked a deal with ICE. Under the 5-year agreement, CoreCivic will hold up to 1,600 prisoners in the small town. The for-profit prison company says it expects to make about $75 million per year. Homeland Security has called the Minnesota location essential to its mission to deport undocumented immigrants in a cost-efficient and timely manner. Critics, however, argue that private prisons are immoral. And in a statement, the progressive group Indivisible Twin Cities called the project a, quote, concentration camp where, quote, anyone ICE snatches could wind up.
Marijuana is legal for recreational use in 21 states, and we know this includes Minnesota. But the owner of a Dairy Queen in Golden Valley does not want it sold next door. That's why the sign outside his restaurant says, quote, weed shop, children don't mix, respect, end quote. DQ franchisee Dan Lahman says his concerns about the incoming cannabis dispensary are with the city. Golden Valley requires cannabis retailers to be at least 500 feet from schools, playgrounds, and athletic fields. Across Medicine Lake Road sits Terra Linda Park in neighboring New Hope, and Lahman says it's an area often swarming with kids.
There's many children outside here all day long. Schools come down in packs of 100 when school starts and when school's let out for the season, and summer camps.
Well, the city says while part of the park falls within their 500-foot buffer, the playground does not. The play structure and gazebo clear the cutoff by about 60 feet. Lahman says the community should have had the opportunity to weigh in on the cannabis shop location. The city says its rules align with state law. And last night, we heard from the attorney who represents the cannabis shop. He said in part, quote, product is not visible from the street or from outside the building. Every customer is carded at the door. 21 and over, no exceptions. We think both businesses can coexist on this corner, and we'd rather be a good neighbor than a talking point, end quote.
Maria, it's happened to all of us. You're in a hurry, and then you get stuck in the car behind a train.
That really is the worst because there's nowhere to go. You can't go forward. I mean,
Can't do anything.
You can't do anything.
But there's a Minneapolis Railroad site that people have actually waited 40 minutes behind a train for.
Really? No, that's
crazy.
a lot. I don't think I've ever waited more than maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, that seems probably like 5 to 10 minutes, right? It always feels longer, but literally 40 minutes. So railroad crossings are notorious for long waits in the Camden neighborhood. And people we spoke to say they've been stuck waiting again 40 minutes. Yeah, and cameras have actually captured people climbing over stopped trains, trying to beat it across the tracks, and then getting stuck under crossing arms.
Dangerous.
It's insane.
You hear it all the time about those crazy train crashes where people are doing just that.
Insane.
Yeah.
And 40 minutes is also insane. So now a city council member says she's actually working towards a solution. Council member Latricia Vita says she's helped secure $2 million in federal funding for a fix. She says the city and the railroad company are also pitching in another $500,000. They're considering an underpass, overpass, or a pedestrian bridge, and a couple people who live nearby think those are all great ideas.
That would be dope. I think that would be amazing, actually.
I think an overpass, underpass at Lyndale would make the most sense as far as cars coming and going.
Councilmember Vita did not share an exact timeline for the project, but she did say that they will plan to meet with the public as they make more decisions. So good to hear that people won't have to wait for 40 minutes anymore.
Yeah, hopefully. And hopefully it doesn't take 40 years for it to happen. You never know, you know.
We're so optimistic.
I know. Okay, you actually are, though, because you ordered Chipotle today for lunch.
I did. And it wasn't just for the clout. I was so hungry, and it's right across from our studios in Minneapolis. And I will say I've never gotten sick, and there's been a lot of salmonella at Chipotle in years past, so I roll with it.
You're obviously you risk it for the burrito. But we say this because just recently, jalapeno peppers from Chipotle and others could be tied to more than 100 Minnesotans that were getting sick with salmonella.
Yeesh.
Health officials are saying that. The Minnesota Department of Health says it had identified 110 cases linked to that outbreak. And so health officials interviewed 84 people, and 75 of them say they ate at Chipotle between June 14th and July 14th. And a handful of others said they had eaten at other Mexican-style restaurants. But that's why they proactively pulled all the bad batches of jalapenos from their restaurants and replaced them, they say, with products from other growers. But Johnny, listen to this. Even with the suspected ingredient removed, we spoke with Dana Eckmeyer with the Minnesota Department of Health, who says that more cases will probably be reported.
There have been a couple of hospitalizations, but so far everyone has recovered and there's been no serious or critical illness.
I clearly should have prepared better for this podcast and read this story prior to lunch. I thought this was all done.
I know. You're like, oh, God. Am I going to get sick? I mean, no, you're probably going to be fine, but it's good to know. And it's also good to know what it can cause.
Yeah,
okay?
not good.
Not good. You want to tell the folks?
Yeah, salmonella can cause diarrhea, fever, and stomach cramps within 8 to 72 hours after exposure. And those are similar to the symptoms to another foodborne illness making the headlines. How do you pronounce this one again?
Cyclospora.
That one always gives me trouble.
I know.
So that's not good either. State health officials actually say they've seen no evidence of that outbreak in our state so far. But for some customers we spoke to, eating Chipotle is still worth the risk. This isn't me, but they agree with me.
Oh, I'll definitely take my chances. Yeah, it's too good to pass up.
Yeah, it is too good to pass up, honestly, right? Though I am going to be texting you about 8 hours from now to see how you're feeling.
Oh, yeah, but I'm not on the podcast tomorrow. Wish me luck.
Mayo Clinic says most healthy people recover within days to weeks, without treatment, but it's always best to consult your doctor.
All right.
If anything happens.
Good to know.
Johnny's like, wow, I'm going to go.
I'm so regretting my lunch choice today.
Nah.
All right, let's get to sports. To even worse news, the Twins have lost 3 in a row. They were doing well, and now 3 losses in a row. They're only 1 game out of the playoffs, though, if the season were to end today. So there's like a bunch of teams right there. They're in Kansas City tonight. It's a 6:40 first pitch. The Lynx, the best team in the WNBA, they're off tonight, but they host the LA Sparks tomorrow. So they'll probably get another win. That's all they do. And this is a fun football story. So it's day 3 of the Vikings training camp, but we're so tired of the quarterback competition already. Let's talk about participation in football. Mike Mack says that's the best way to grow the game. And it's actually a barrier because, football is a high contact sport. There's a lot of injuries. So I think some youth don't want to play anymore, right? And their parents.
Some girls can't play because it's not offered at high schools or middle schools.
Totally. And this is one of the ways to get more people involved. The Vikings honored the Rosemount High School girls flag football team yesterday. They, of course, were the state champions this past spring, and they helped run a clinic at TCO Stadium where the Vikings practice. So, of course, they celebrated, and then team president and owner Mark Wilf announced their MVP. Her name is Talia Vecchio. She will blow the Yaller horn at the upcoming Vikings game versus the Baltimore Ravens. Quite a day and quite a season for the Rosemount Irish.
It's definitely playing a sport that is up and coming, definitely where you can kind of pave the way for other girls. It's definitely it means a lot to me to be able to be that kind of example for other girls who want to play flag football but haven't had the opportunity in the past.
It's time to take a breath with your Daily Bright Spot.
An international organization has just one rule for you to join. You've got to be tall.
I don't make the mix.
You don't even know the stipulation yet, or the regulate.
I can tell I'm already on the outs of that.
Okay, well, I guess you can't go to California then for their convention of long legs. So let me tell you the rules. The Talls Club International is an organization with a requirement of being 5'10" or taller for women, and 6'2" or taller for men.
Not even close. Are you 5'10"?
No. No, I'm not. I'm 5'8".
All right,
so I'm
close.
Not really. Okay, well, how tall are you?
I think I'm 5'9". Okay. Maybe.
All right.
I haven't been to the doctor in years. So
God damn it, Johnny.
I really don't know. I should probably get a checkup. But yeah, 5'9",
Okay.
maybe 5'10", maybe. We're pretty close to the
But
same
your
height.
Hinge profile says 6'2".
Yeah, it says like
So
I'm the tallest person alive.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is funny because it's like the whole mission for this, according to the club, is to promote tall awareness among tall people in the community. And it's like you couldn't just see each other within the community. I mean, you kind of stick out.
Interesting. You know what is funny is everyone jokes that they could use a couple inches, but then I've talked to tall people before and they're like, I wish I could take down some because there's a lot of obstacles that like I don't ever think about hitting the ceiling.
Right,
Or, like, it's
banging
not
your
hard to
head.
get in my car, you know, but there are
True.
different things.
And growing up being tall, because I was always the tallest girl in my grade. And that was tough. You just felt so awkward and like, you know, you're taller than all the boys. And
I think it's definitely different for girls versus guys. Like guys that I grew up with, like if you're tall, you typically you can throw the baseball harder.
Sure.
You can maybe dunk. You know, things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's a benefit in sports for sure. And for women too. But you know, it is just it's cool because it is a way to connect with other people. For example, this one woman at the convention is a second generation Tall Club member because both of her parents met at one of the clubs in 1958 and just celebrated their 65th anniversary.
Oh my gosh. So this has been going on a long time.
I suppose it has.
Wow.
I love it.
You learn something new every day.
You learn something new every day. You know, you can't see how tall we are right now because you're either just listening to us or watching the video and we're just sitting down. But you can see how tall we are in person this year at the Minnesota State Fair.
Yes, it's so exciting. We're doing a live podcast recording. It'll be Friday, August 28th. So that's the first Friday of the fair. It'll be at about 12:45. So come watch our noon show and then
at the
join us.
WCCO booth, and then stick around for your 4 Things to Know podcast live. We'll tell you more and more about it as the days go on leading up to the fair, but we're very, very excited.
Can't wait.
Well, with Johnny Kahner, I'm Maria Lisignoli, and we're here with the news you need every weekday afternoon by 3 o'clock.
Listen to 4 Things to Know, a WCCO daily news podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Love podcasts? Love Minnesota?
Check out the WCCO podcast studio lineup.
Hear the top stories of the day with 4 Things to Know.
Discover top female athletes and teams from around the state on women in sports.
Dive into stories about faith and belief, from your local leaders to your neighbors next door, with bigger than belief.
Stay in the know on the go with the WCCO podcast studio. Go to WCCO.com/podcasts.